Hey everyone, welcome to Watch It, Play It, Table Talk Back. My name is Rodney Smith, and this is
Pet McDonald, and in this episode, we'll be looking at your responses to our table Topicopia about 3 serious issues facing gamers.
I don't know about serious, but
Serious!
The first one we asked you about was your thoughts on quitting a game early when the winner seems like a foregone conclusion. So let's jump right in and see what you had to say. Zanman writes, I tend to win games quite often. Did you write this as Zanman?
No.
So if we're playing a heavy game and I've got a strong lead, the rest of the players ignore my lead and fight for second place. Or as they call it, the real first place. It doesn't bother me and I'm happy that they're enjoying themselves and still wanting to compete. I like this comment because I think it kind of emphasizes again, there's other positions to play for in a game besides the first position.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of a funny story from back when I used to play Magic a bit more. I had this one deck that had a win condition, a Dark Steel Reactor, and I had to get it to a certain point, and then it just said, I win the game.
Okay.
And so I would get to that point, and then the rest of the players would be like, okay, you go over there and do something else, and we'll finish the game. You won, but we'd like to actually play.
We're going to see who really won.
Yeah, because I didn't really interact with them in any way, so it's funny, yeah, and reminds me of this.
Well, listen, one of our other viewers, Dante, sent in a video submission talking about this as well. Let's see what he had to say.
I feel like second place, third place, I feel like the placing of all other players, that's kind of important in a lot of games. I know some games it's either you win it all or you lose it all. And I understand that, but I do think there is a place for seeing who is second and third and so on, maybe to see if you play again, oh, I did better, or I did worse, or now I'm starting to understand it.
Conrado's Hut says, one of our players immediately quit at the start of an Arcadia Quest game after insisting we randomly draw heroes and then deciding he didn't like what he got. That killed the joy of the game for everyone else. I don't have to tell you that no one on the table ever wanted to play that with him again.
That's kind of rough, quitting as soon as you get the game all set up. That takes time in and of itself, right?
Yeah, I can kind of, well, he did want to draw them himself. Like,
Right.
That was his choice. But I can kind of relate a little bit to him where, like, let's say you're playing something like D&D, you roll a character, and your character is just so much worse than everyone else. You just rolled really bad stats. I've seen people basically say, okay, like I'll walk in, my character will fall on someone's dagger, and then I'll start a new character.
Right.
And
Let me just reset here.
yeah, and I kind of see where they're coming from.
Sure, I can appreciate it. I think Arcadia Quest, you're stuck with a set of 3 characters. If you don't like them, then that could be, make your experience less enjoyable. The key thing about this, though, well, one is, again, he requested they draw randomly, so he's a victim of his own choosing in that case. But also, I think it's important to notice about this is affecting how other people are feeling about that player. Like if I was sitting down and I was noticing this player always wants to quit when things aren't going quite the way they want, do I want to play this next game with them?
Yeah.
And just risk them wanting to quit as soon as we get everything set up. So you have to be careful about that. I think, again, it goes back to what we said about reading the table and seeing what everyone at the table is feeling and kind of working it based on that. Mark Cook writes, even if you can see how a movie is going to end, sometimes you can early on, you don't just stop it. There's a certain enjoyment and always room for surprises. Yeah, I think that's true. There's not an exact one-to-one relationship between playing a game and watching a movie, but...
No, I relate to the surprises part, though, because you never know what's going to happen by the end of the movie or by the end of a game. Something could change. You could be wrong.
Oh, I've definitely been playing games with people. I've actually even been this person where I've been playing the game and just convinced in my own mind, I am not going to win this. I am done. And then I won. What?
Oh yeah, that always kills me, and especially when the player's vocal about it. They're just so vocal that they're losing the whole time, and then they come back and win.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I've probably done it too, but
it's hard not to. If you really feel like you're losing, it's hard not to kind of whine and moan about it a little bit. But yeah, then when they win, it's like,
yeah, it's like, oh, you won and got to complain the whole game about losing. Yay!
That's not fair. Well, Jake from Maple Leaf Reviews has another thought about this as it relates to new players.
I think also something else that could be at stake is whether someone's shooting for a high score, or maybe you have a new member that has joined your group and that's their first experience at your game table. Is that the appropriate time to end a game early or push through something that you're really struggling to enjoy?
Omer Hertz says, when Pet McDonald introduces himself, I always feel the urge to say, had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. I would rather continue on with the game, at least trying to do my best or catching up. That said, a big no-no for me in a game design is a constant runaway leader situation.
Right, so if one person gets ahead, it makes it easier to stay ahead, and therefore everyone else is just basically sitting there perpetually getting farther and farther behind. That can be disappointing for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I do like catch-up mechanics in games. I don't like if they're a bit too intense. Like I like the idea that you can work to catch up, but I wouldn't like it if a game just suddenly has do this one thing and you get 50 points. It'll bring your rate back up.
Sometimes you almost feel like the designer's pulling the strings a little bit here. Like, we don't want there to be a runaway leader, so we're going to make sure the last player comes right up close. Because then it's like, what's my incentive to do well if you're just going to rebalance things at the end of every round? So there is a fine balance there, I think. Peninsula Painting writes, quite often in a co-op game, my wife and I can see a win is almost impossible, and quite frustratingly, my wife will insist we play it through to its bitter conclusion. Even though this can be quite frustrating, more often than not, there's quite a lot of fun along the way with surprising dice rolls from last stands, and I find it's these little pieces of drama that stick in my mind more so than whether we win or lose. And again, that just made me think about, it's not just about positioning, it's also the stories you tell afterwards, right?
And it's important to note that they talk about doing it in a co-op game. And
right.
The nice part about a co-op game is that it's you either win together or you lose together. So you don't have that weird, is that one person beating me? Well, I need to quit early. Like, this is actually all about the experience.
You have someone sharing in whatever emotions that you're feeling as well. Jeff Van Sant also provided a video response on this topic, which I think objectively is absolutely correct on this topic. Let's take a look.
Hello, Pep. Hello, Rodney. If you can win a game, win the game. Don't drag it out for 5 hours. I played a game of Firefly where after about 4.5 hours into the game, I asked the leading player, how have you not won yet? And then their answer was that they could have won 10 turns ago and they had 3 times the amount of money to win the game. Because of all that extra time, I was bored. I was losing all my die rolls. They had every character in the game. They were very clearly going to win, and they could have won a long time ago. Then they were just making me miserable and made me hate the game. So, if you can win the game, just win the game and play another one.
So the reason why I said that Jeff was objectively correct is because I so strongly believe in this. If you can win the game, win the game. Don't artificially draw it out.
Oh, yeah, I've known so many people over the years that just had the opposite view. Playing Magic or something, they're like, I could have killed you this turn, but I wanted to save up and do like 100 damage to you next turn, like really rub it in. I quit. Whenever that happens, if I see you could have won the turn before, I'm done. I just say, no, that you win. Good work.
I think that's perfectly fair.
Yeah, because there's no point in artificially making it take longer.
It breaks the spirit of the game a little bit. The objective isn't to hit me with 100 damage on one turn. It's to defeat me when you can.
It's to win, yeah. And I guess I'm admittedly guilty of the same kind of thing because I am a fervent ally. I won't attack an ally.
Right.
And so I've probably had many games where I could have won and just didn't.
Yeah, a little sooner, but you stayed true to your ally rather than go after them and didn't take that advantage. Well, that's something to keep in mind when you're playing with Pep. Be his ally if you can.
Zanman says, hey, it's Zanman. Zanman's back. Zan the man. Okay. He asks, what do you do when you fill up the lid? Sure, it's not a problem with a box like Concordia, but what about Lost Cities?
Right, there might not be enough room in there to record too many playthroughs.
It's funny, I thought about this exact thing, because I thought, maybe I could start doing this, or when I get a new game, maybe I'll do it, and then I thought, wait, after I've played the game something like 20 times,
then what?
The box is full.
You start marking on the front cover. Right?
Or just marking on paper.
As far as marking up your games, I don't understand marking up your games at all because there's so many different ways to not mark up your games. For one, why not just use a piece of paper? If you have to write something on it, say who won the first game, second game, and when, take a piece of paper, fold it up, put it in the box. To me, why would you ruin the box for no reason? Like everybody has paper, or you have your phone. You can put the notes on your phone, or you can email it, or a tiny bit of extra work, and you can sort of save the box.
I'll tell you why I think people mark it. Because there's a permanence to it. Honestly, I think the reason people box top is because they want that score to be permanently written there. This is probably one of those issues that divides people who enjoy legacy games and people who don't.
I think
some people just don't like the idea of ripping up a card. They're like, no, we'll just set it aside. I want to rip it up because I want to feel that permanence to it. We just lost something. There's no going back. And I kind of feel like maybe it's the same principle here.
Yeah, I have awful handwriting, so if I were going to do it, I'd want someone else to top my box.
That's a good idea. William Smith offered some thoughts on marking up games as well. I love going through games that are still in my collection after 10 years and fondly remembering playing games with my now grown-up son who's away in the Army. There's a functional purpose to recording scores, but I do it for the nostalgia. And I thought that was just kind of sweet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is like that record again. I don't know that it's quite the same as I don't know, scrolling through an app to see games you've played, as opposed to lifting out the box cover, maybe seeing your son's handwriting there, or the other players, and the date, and kind of remembering, oh yeah, that's when we played that game, that person got a ridiculous score.
Yeah, I like to do that if I have one of those games that comes with a score pad. I don't rip them off. I just push them aside and write on the next one because I like to keep them.
You can flip back through later.
Yeah, you can flip back through and you know by the initials who it was, and
Right.
it's kind of fun. Jordan Hillis says, I was completely against marking up any of my games until I started playing with my brother-in-law who is colorblind.
Like this guy.
He recently added a little G, Y, and P to the garden tiles and cards for Takenoko.
Right, green, yellow, and pink.
Purple.
No pink.
No, I think it's purple.
Oh, it's pink.
Are you sure you're not wrong?
You're the colorblind one, trust me on this.
Before this, he had to ask us what cards and tiles he had. This kind of change seems justifiable to me.
Yeah, right. I think this is a perfectly valid and something I hadn't even considered of why you would mark up a game. To make it easier for someone who's colorblind or someone else who has any other kind of visual challenge to playing the game.
Yeah, and I suppose there is an argument that games should just always have colorblind friendly
Right.
options. Like some games have shapes as well as the colors, but honestly, even as a colorblind person, I don't want that. When I play a game, even if I have to struggle a little bit with the colors, I don't want it to take away from the art or aesthetics of the game.
Yes.
So if it doesn't fit to have some sort of a special colorblind feature, I don't think they should put it in.
I think in most cases a clever designer can find ways to embed that into the thematic, and it's definitely something I've played now with more colorblind people than I would ever realized existed just through this hobby. And so I think it's not too hard to put a little line somewhere or a dot somewhere on the card or piece just to make it easier for those players. Mr. Whizbit writes, I'm always a little touchy about my game pieces being taken care of really well, even the stupid inserts, but I'm starting to realize no one else cares. 20 years from now when I break out a game to play with my kids again, they're not going to care if the cards are all new looking and perfect. But there's still a drive to keep everything as new looking and as clean as possible.
I mean, personally, I want my stuff to look nice, especially miniatures. I don't want them all dinged up and banged and bent.
Right. Listen, there's no reason to purposefully wreck or destroy your games, but I do agree with the philosophy of letting go a little bit on this. 20 years from now, to be frank, your kids are going to be playing probably something else. There's going to be a million other games to choose from. The likelihood that it's going to be super important that this old game of yours stays pristine so they can fully enjoy it probably isn't as strong as we might feel in the moment. So I think there's a certain freedom in just letting that go a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you, Frank. There's just something to be said that if it takes away from your enjoyment to try to protect your game, I think you need to back off a little bit.
If it's causing you stress and anxiety, then probably giving yourself a little break is okay.
Hey gentlemen, it's Keith Collins, aka Major Malfunction. How are you guys doing today? Do you like to mark up your games, or do you mark up your games, box top, etc.? And the answer is no, I can't write in the games. I can't write in the rule books, I can't highlight the rule books. I can attempt to paint miniatures, but that's pretty much vandalism when it comes to my painting talent. So it's not the best idea in the world, but I will do that to a game. But that's a game that I've decided I'm going to keep forever. And everything else I like to keep so that if I decide to get rid of a game, which kind of leads into question 3, I don't want someone to receive something that I've pretty much marked all to pieces. And question 3 is, how big should your game collection be? It should be as big as you can reasonably hold. It should be whatever makes you happy. There's no magic number. If you've got room for it and you want 5,000 games, have 5,000 games. If you have room for 200 games, have 200 games.
So Keith took us from our last topic into our next one. What is the ideal game collection size?
Akai Samurai says, I advocate a smaller but played collection, so I keep my games to a maximum of 52. So I can say that even at 1 game a week, it's a reasonable goal to play every game once per year.
I think judging your collection size based on the likelihood of you being able to play all of your games at least once a year,
it's interesting.
That's a reasonable benchmark, I think.
Yeah, it hurts me a little inside.
Oh, yeah?
Because I like things to be kind of uniform and even.
Oh, the 52?
Yeah, I'd probably make it 50, and I'd say the same thing, it's so I can play them all in a year and then have 2 weeks of break. Maybe no gaming on Christmas and no gaming on Halloween.
Well, I know that one year I did try to play through every game in my collection.
I remember that.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was not easy to do. It got a little stressful at the end because I gave myself the challenge. If I don't play all the games, any games I don't play, I'm going to give away.
Give it to Pep, yeah.
Yeah, give it to Pep.
I have a lot more games now.
Me too. So I'm never doing that challenge again. Jarb2104 writes, if you find that a game has to wait a month or more to be played, then perhaps you have a library that's too big. And if you find that many times you don't want to play any of the games in your library, then perhaps your library is too small.
Interesting.
This sounds right to me, but I'm not sure I completely agree.
I don't agree with the second part of the comment that your collection's too small if you can't find something you want to play. I think it means that you should get rid of some of those games and just replace them with new things. I don't think you should grow. I think you should change.
Sometimes I'll stand in front of my shelves here and I think I have a collection that's a very healthy size, and I can't think of something to play. But it's not because my collection's too small. It's just indecisiveness, just not sure what I'm in the mood for, just a general kind of sense of things.
Yeah. Maybe an interesting experiment would be have someone come over and offer to play a game, and if you don't want to play that game and you couldn't think of a time when you would, just get rid of it. Like if I said, hey Rodney, do you want to play Imperial Assault right now? What would you say?
I'd say, well, we have to learn how to play it first.
Oh, that's... Well, luckily there's a channel you can go to and that kind of thing happens.
We'll go watch the video
watch the
once
video.
I make it.
I like this one. Splatcat says, I use the formula, number of games I have plus one.
Right, there's the ideal collection size. What you have, plus one more. I think that's how a lot of gamers treat their collection size.
I think so, and I don't know if he's joking, but I actually hope he's serious, because I think there is something to be said that...
I think the game industry hopes he's serious.
Well, yeah, and I think it's reasonable that you would want to just have as much as you can, because some things are like that. Like if you're a collector, for example, you don't want to have the best 50 coins or the best 100 coins.
Right.
You want to have all the coins you can have. It's a collection.
That is part of the enjoyment, is finding new boundaries and there's still something else I'm excited about and want to play.
Yeah, to boldly go where nobody has gone before.
Right. Gatok writes, I think the only real constraint people should use are money, space, and time. Money, because people should try to spend responsibly and not neglect necessary parts of their life to pursue a luxury. Space, because this is a real variable in your life. I'd love another game shelf, but there wouldn't be any way to squeeze my family any tighter in the space that we would have, so that would be selfish.
I love that he says family and not games. It's like I couldn't fit the games in because my family's here. It's like I can't fit my family in with all these games.
And time, because this influences exactly what in my collection will ever have a chance of being played. I like this as kind of a conclusion to that topic because I think that's really it, right? Those three factors are going to be what dictates. It's not that there is a right number, it's how those factors influence that number.
Yeah, and it's interesting. He kind of seems to actually have the same kind of opinion as Splatcat, just less jokingly so.
Yes.
That my ideal collection is as big as I can get it within the reasonable restraints that I have.
I always want one more, but here are the boundaries where I have to stop that formula, that equation.
Yeah, when I can't feed my family, when they can't fit in the house anymore, and when I don't have any time for them.
That's right. Well, listen, that was just some of the many great responses we had. Thank you for those. If you'd like to leave more comments, certainly do so below. But until the next episode, thanks for watching. My name is Rodney Smith, and this is... It is.
It's me.
You don't have to say your name anymore. You know who it is. Hey everyone, welcome back to...
Don't back. Back it up.
Back it up. This has nothing to do with that. We're just gonna move on. 3. I'm always a little touchy about my game pieces being taken care of really well. Even the stupid artists Artists. Inserts. There's nothing stupid about you artists.
You stupid artists.
Get it all out of your system, man. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.